Well, it's some
Joe Show. We've seen it. Nobody wants to be there. Joe Show. There's a 2-mile wait to get past the damn green line.
So we're here on the Joe Show, and a special edition of the Joe Show, not just Joe Murray here.
Platinum edition.
That's right. We brought some platinum gear as well. He is the AEW champion. And the king, Joe, right now, what are we going by right now, Joe?
We're the king of television, king of all media, king of video game media, you name it, king of streaming.
I like the Destroyer.
We'll go with that,
so
too.
So is this self-made? Is this, how did all these nicknames come about at first?
You know, a lot of my nicknames are not self-made. You know, a lot of the stuff just kind of fan input, things that fans have chanted at various times or said. So, king of television, definitely mine, because, you know, it's a medium that I'm looking to dominate now that it's going out. But, it's most any persona that I've been given usually is given by the fans or an overzealous commentator.
So here's one thing I wanted to give you credit for. You're now the AEW champion. Mm-hmm. You think about the last 5 years, man, you've had an interesting ride.
Absolutely.
At one point, you're a commentator for a major event. Mm-hmm. Now you're the face of AEW. Talk about your journey in getting to this point.
You know, I think the time and the period and everything kind of is par for the course for my career in general. Mine has never been a traditional path. I've never been somebody who's gone up through the traditional ranks to get where they've been. I applied my trade all over the world and did various things. Dealt with various instances in my career, especially injury. Getting into the commentary space was very natural and very fun. And to find myself here today, at this point, it isn't much of a surprise because, you know, anytime that I've, had an insurmountable challenge in front of me, I've always managed a way to surmount it.
So you won that title off of a guy named MJF.
Indeed, I did.
Did you end him?
I think I might have. You know, we're not hearing hide nor hair of him. He's not around too much anymore. But, you know, I will say this about Max. He's a tremendous talent, tremendous athlete. And, it'll be very interesting to see what his future holds.
So AEW is coming back to Boston. I've been to about Blood and Guts. Mm-hmm. Was the last one that I went to.
You know, Boston, an area where I win several championships throughout my career, by the way.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
So I went to Lowell.
Ah, yes.
And one night, and there's actually a photo of me behind you.
One magical night.
Magical night. What's funny is when you won, I'm a big guy sitting in the back, and I'm like, holy smokes. How did that happen on a dark match? Isn't that interesting? Like a large title got moved. Was it the venue? What made that night Samoa Joe's night?
I think a lot of factors. I think the NXT kind of house show circuit was on fire. I mean, we were doing fantastic houses, doing great shows with a lot of the talent that I'm currently in AEW with now. And I think we looked at Lowell. I think Hunter, he's a big New England guy, and he wanted to drop a little surprise on maybe the local populace at the time. And I was always up for it. I've won several championships, like I said, in Boston. Crowds here have always been very, very pro Joe in a lot of instances, so it's been fun. And I think it was something just to shake up the world. You know, sometimes you need to shake up the status quo. You need to make fans know that they can be a part of something great no matter what event they come to. And that was very much what that was about.
That was a hell of a night, man.
Great night.
And it went viral, like Samoa Joe's the new champ.
It's almost like we knew what we were doing, huh?
But what I liked is the next one, the demon stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, what is it? Is this you, man? Like, we're just hanging out. This is Cool Joe, right? Mm-hmm. When the game face is on and it's demon mode, right? You're the destroyer, man. Like that was a hell of a match, in my opinion. But what gets you in that mindset when you're going into a match?
You know, I think a lot of us have to live all of our emotions at one time. I mean, obviously we have to carry our anger, our pain, our fears, and all this stuff with us. I get the great benefit that, I can live my life relatively calmly outside of the ring and focus all those bad energies once I step into the ring. And that's really what it's about, man. It's just kind of fortifying a lot of those aspects of what I deal with and bringing them to me with me in the ring.
And big business coming to Boston March 13th. They can get tickets at AEWTix.com. What do you got in store, man? By the way, the last thing I remember you doing is choking out Rob Van Dam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a long time coming.
Obviously we got Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland. coming up here in a big 3-way at Revolution, one of which I will walk out champion. I will take that championship, walk into big business. And I don't know, man, maybe it's time that we see who else is ready for the championship field.
So that's the question. Who's going to take down Samoa Joe? And by the way, who earns an opportunity to fight Samoa Joe?
Well, who earns opportunity? That's very much out of my hands. I mean, that's whoever wants to step up and actually prove their case. As for when is this going to leave me, I mean, listen, we can sit here and talk about the end of the world all you want, but that's probably the only time this is ever coming off my shoulder.
I like that. You mentioned Swerve. He's getting over right now.
No, beyond. I mean, listen, Swerve Strickland has been a guy who, in my estimation, has been kind of slept on by a lot of the fandom, not really realizing what he's capable of. He's had several opportunities through different companies, but now he's kind of coming into his own. He has an ability to kind of be himself, put out his music the way he likes, and it all kind of fits together nicely. I think getting a guy like Prince Nana, who was a tremendous manager in ROH, maybe kind of in my opinion, one of our unsung guys at the time there. Joining up with him, it just kind of makes this really nice package that works really well for him. And I'm so glad it's all coming together for him. It's all going to go horribly wrong in a couple of weeks.
Yes, I was going to say. It's all going great, and
it's
then
all
he's going to meet
great,
Joe.
and then, you hit the inevitability, and then it's not so great anymore. So
I do want to get into Ring of Honor in a little bit because, it's TNA, Ring of Honor, that's where you were made. That's how I remember you. I came across, you were on the independent circuit, and I remember playing a video game, and I'm like, oh, I like this guy. And then eventually I started seeing you come across. I started watching more TNA. And what I wanted to ask about that just quickly was you had one of the longest runs ever, man. Like when people look back at it, is that something you wear on your chest? That was you represented that. You're one of the guys. And by the way, when Slammiversary happened, where was Samoa Joe that day? There's some interesting stuff on that one. I'm actually curious about it.
I think the biggest aspect for me, I mean, obviously, I'm very appreciative of the championships that I've had and the times I've had. But my focus has always been on just the fan experience. And I want people to know when they show up, they're showing up for a big fight and they're gonna have a blast watching it. And that's really been my focus. And as long as the fans are feeling that way about what I do in the ring, then I'm more than satisfied with what I'm doing.
So you set the expectation.
Yeah.
You're coming in, you're going to kick ass, but you want people to know you're going to be there because they're going to watch you kick ass.
You set an expectation because you want it met, and you want people to depend on that expectation. So, I mean, that's really what it's been about.
So you mentioned Swerve, Hangman. How is it? I mean, this guy basically was, well, I don't want to call him one of the pillars, but he's one of these AEW guys that has been there for a while now. You and Swerve have done your thing as well, and now he's in the mix. What are your thoughts on him? And I mean, he's had his time at the top too.
No, I agree with you 100%. When you talk about the pillars of AEW, then I think Hangman and Paige is one of those strong pillars. Unfortunately, now I'm the foundation that holds the whole thing up. So I mean, it's great if you got a pillar to keep a wall up, but I keep the whole house afloat. And as for his talent, I mean, he's a guy that's been former AEW champion. He's a guy that has been in the top contention, countless time after time. And he's a very aggressive individual, all about his cowboyish and all that stuff. And man, I can't wait to just make that all come crashing down on top of him.
You said you've been here before. What else do you remember about Boston? What are some of the things that stand out to you? I'm sure you've been to the world famous Kowloon.
I was going to say, our good friend Andy, Kowloon's obviously a major supporter of wrestling in general, and always a pleasant visit every time we go there. Get a couple Scorpion Bowls, kick back after the show. Man, I mean, outside of that, I mean, I've been to a few bars and clubs here. I'm sure they're all closed down by now, but it's always been a fun time.
That's what I always hear from any wrestler I've ever talked to. They're like, man, whenever I go to Boston, I've been to the clubs, or they'll mention a strip club, or go to the Squire, or something like that in the area. So I'm glad you guys have a good time when you come out to town. So I just wanted to ask this about your personal life, Joe. And it's relatable to me. I've wanted to be in the business for a long time in media. I've been doing it part-time. I've become full-time now, but I worked in the car business. Like I was slinging cars and making calls and whatever. You were selling mortgages before you got
terrible subprime ones that just tons of people homeless now because of the terrible loans I sold them. Yeah.
But real quick, so were you like wrestling? Were you always wanted to be a wrestler?
No, honestly, I had gotten involved with a judo and a jiu-jitsu school. And the guy who ran the jiu-jitsu school, I said, hey, listen, we rent this out to a pro wrestling school in the afternoon. I think you might like it. He did pro wrestling too, a guy named John Delahoe. great jiu-jitsu guy. And I said, I don't know. I'll see. I watched it. I liked it, but I don't know if I'll do it. And he goes, no, give it a shot. And I gave it a shot. A lot of the stuff from judo was very similar to a lot of stuff from pro wrestling, so a lot of the concepts translated. And yeah, man, I got into it, started doing a few local shows, and then a year later, I found myself in Japan. I was like, oh, I guess we're in a career.
And you liked being out in Japan?
It was one of the best times, and for a young wrestler, one of the best places you can learn your craft. And I mean, just a fantastic country all around.
And what is it about? Like, you're a polarizing figure and a big man. Is that something that when you go to Japan, a lot of the fans that are out there look at it as polarizing figure, or is it more, someone from America coming to Japan competing in their sport? What's the feel like?
It's always overwhelming admiration. I mean, the Japanese fan in general is probably one of the most respectful, awesome fans in all of fandom. I mean, they just they're very appreciative of effort and what you do out there. And if you can go out there and produce great shows for them, they reciprocate in kind. And yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing when it comes to Japan. They're just an incredibly appreciative society who just loves anything that they get a chance to go see.
So I heard somewhere that you and your family, you guys were dancers.
Yeah, we still are. My brother we run a Polynesian dance troupe. When I was there, it was Tiara Productions, now Tupua Productions, run by my brother in Southern California. And yeah, the family's still very much in the business and going strong. And you participated in the 1984 Olympics? Yes, I did. We had the opening ceremony. Obviously, they want representation from all the different lands and all their different folklorical dance arts, and we represented Oceania, as it was called at the time. And we had come out. My father didn't really figure out a costume change off the 50-yard line, how long it would take. So the girls have to do their routine, leave, do a costume change, get back out on the 50. It's 50-yard line, so it's a ways out there. So you just didn't kind of put that. So I remember we're sitting there, we're drumming. It's kind of dead air, nothing's going on. And I remember my dad grabs me by the scruff of my neck, throws me over the front of the drum and goes, solo, stall. And I said, all right, yeah, stall, kid. So I went out there and at 5, maybe 6 years old, just started doing a solo. Crowd erupts for the cute little kid dancing. And girls got back on, finished up the routine, and we finished up the number and we were done. Wow.
And nobody can say anything to you on that one, right? Because you'll put them in the coquina clutch.
Stage fright was not an issue very much after that.
It's just about your moves. The muscle buster. Right? We got a couple of them there. We got the coquina clutch. Mm-hmm. How'd you come up with all those?
Muscle Buster was sitting in a dojo in Japan in an afternoon and looking through just the local baseball magazine. I saw an anime character by Kaniku Man, Muscle Man, I guess is the best way to translate that. And he was doing the Muscle Buster, and I said to myself, I could do that. And he goes, oh yeah, very popular in Japan. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's where the Muscle Buster initially came from. And for the coquina clutch, I mean, it's the sleeper as old as time, man. It's one of the great equalizers. It's something that I saw great martial artists in my time do. Guys like Hickson Gracie, Gene LaBelle, and just felt like the right type of thing to put somebody out with.
So you have some of the best strikes in the sport. The Undertaker, right? He just the way he delivers it. Yours looks like it hurts, and I just, there's always Mount Rushmore talk, right? What's your Mount Rushmore of guys who make it hurt?
Make it look. I mean,
make it hurt.
Make it hurt. It's two different mountains. They look very different.
As far as strikers go.
I mean, I think Taker's definitely up there. I think when you talk about all-time punches, I think Jerry Lawler probably has one of, a genre-defining one. I've heard, though not in my case, Terry Funk, I think, is another guy who, when you talk about a guy who could throw punches that looked like they'd take people's head off, he was definitely a guy. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my short list of dudes who I really look at.
It's funny, I read a quote. Joe has been in the ring with hundreds of opponents throughout his career. You're one of the best strikers. I love your headbutt, by the way. It's one of my favorites. But who do you consider the most dangerous people in the world?
In general?
I'm talking in the sport.
In the sport?
Who's someone you don't want to get in the ring with? Like we heard back in the day, like nobody wanted to get in the ring with Mabel at the time, right? He was too rough.
Yeah, dude. There's nobody.
You'll take him on. I mean, you don't care.
No, it's not even that. I mean, there's nobody. I mean, I'd be scared to get in the ring with. I mean, that's a weird. I can't.
I don't mean to ask the question.
No.
No.
I mean, I'm just saying, as I'm going through my head, I can't my mind can't even come up with a person remotely who even fits that description. You know, usually it's the other way around. They won't
There you go.
me.
Is that what you say? One of the biggest differences in your time is, you know, AEW is really the best wrestlers in the world. There's sports entertainment all over the place. But as far as wrestlers go, do you guys take pride in that? Is this is the place if you want to wrestle, we're the best?
We call it pro wrestling. We're very proud of that label. You know, the sports entertainer thing, it's a very debated thing, either or. You know, I give credence to both. I think both are wonderful art forms, but you know, when it comes to AEW, we're pro wrestling and we're pro wrestlers, and we're proud to say that. And we're not trying to morph it into something else that you know, maybe is more palatable to the mainstream. I think the mainstream is totally fine with the label pro wrestling. So at this point, I think it's just silly semantics on both sides, to be honest with you. Like, I think both sides are just kind of being dumb about it, and I think the major reason why they were being dumb about it, the other side's probably gone, so maybe they'll switch up their tone.
Awesome. And what's your involvement in the Suicide Squad?
So Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League just came out. I play King Shark, you know, alongside you know, Tara Strong as Harley Quinn, and you know, the unfortunately the last performance of Kevin Conroy, well, in video games, is Batman. And it was just a blast process, a very, very fun game, and a crazy story, and yeah, man, it's a great time. Looking forward to the upcoming DLC, which I'm sure we'll be recording for soon.
I got two more for you. I did an article. Somebody asked me, I'm a big guy, so obviously, hey Joe, who's your favorite? You know, or what's your Mount Rushmore of big man wrestlers? So if I asked you, what would be your Mount Rushmore of big men wrestlers?
I think Vader's definitely on that list. I put Mark Henry up there, man.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
Mark's a guy who's, you know, just consistently, I mean, strong as all get out. You know, Haku, I think, for, you know, if that I think he should qualify as a big man.
I had Bam Bam Bigelow on my list.
Oh yeah, Bigelow.
Because he was so athletic.
You know? Bigelow, more than deserving of a big man spot on that list. And you know, and really, you know, when you talk about a guy who kind of defined the genre, I think Taker's definitely up there too.
Yeah, that's a good list. One more for you, Joe. Dream matches, dead or alive, retired. Was there anybody you ever wanted to fight?
Dead or alive. I mean, the dead or alive thing. Brody. You know, Bruiser Brody, just a guy that, you know, his energy and what he did and that acumen, that toughness. I mean, that's a guy I'd more than happy to be in the ring with.
Can you give us a promo on Big Business? And
a big promo on Big Business?
Yeah, wow. Yeah. And what's up with, is the suit your thing now? Like,
it's one of them. You know, we're on Casual Friday today, but I mean, like, you know, when you talk about talk about Boston, right? You know, you're talking about championship legacies, you know, from the Celtics to the Patriots. What is all that, right? It's big business, right? So here comes AEW. AEW rolling into town. We got the best champion in the industry. We got the best roster in the history of the world. We're coming to do big business, right? Maybe a few big surprises to keep that big business going. So, I mean, that's what we feel about big business.
There you go. He is AEW Champion Samoa Joe. He'll be in Boston March 13th. Big business. You can get your tickets at AEWTix.com. Joe, appreciate your time, my man.
Appreciate you, man.